Everyone, I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Brandon. And we're the
Wagners. We're a husband-wife duo who travel all around the country since 2021 for Brandon's travel nursing job.
We love hiking, car camping, new cities, and of course, the best food and drink. Along with adventure, we always look for ways to keep our travel budget-friendly.
So pack your bags and join us as we wander together. Hey Wanderers, welcome back to our page and welcome back to Northern California. Today we're heading out into the San Francisco Bay to visit the infamous Alcatraz. So Alcatraz, you probably know, is one of the most famous, intense, maximum security federal penitentiaries. However, that is not all this fortress has been used for. So originally, Native Americans occupied this land and often use it as a way to isolate tribe members who had broken tribe laws. In 1849, it was used as a fortress, especially against foreigners who were flooding in from the gold rush. And later, it was used as a fortress from Confederate raiders in the Civil War. And then in 1907, it became a military prison, and then finally in 1934, a federal penitentiary. So it was cleared out and closed down in 1963, and then Native Americans tried to occupy the land once again, but ultimately it is now owned and operated by the National Park Service, and of course holds tours for visitors such as myself. So before we explore the island, let's talk a little more about getting there. So unless you're visiting before 1963 and you've been convicted of a heinous crime, the only way that most of us are going to get into Alcatraz is by the ferry. And the only ferry that you can take to get there is the Alcatraz City Cruise, and of course I'll link that in the bottom for you. So this is a little frustrating because I was hoping, since this is owned by the NPS, I would get free admission with my National Parks Pass. But the official word is Alcatraz is already free to visit. You just need to pay for the ferry ticket, which of course just means that you can't use your National Parks Pass to discount the price of the ferry. So that's a little frustrating, but this is still a really fun attraction, and I would say it's worth the price. Anyway, when you do go to get your ferry tickets, it will of course have you pick a date and a time. There are 3 different types of tours: day tours, night tours, and behind the scenes tours. So just so there's no confusion, before I give the prices of the tour, there is a self-guided audio tour that takes you through the Cellhouse, and that is free and self-paced, so you don't need to worry about booking like a tour when you visit, and you can't get cheaper tickets if you decide to not do the tour, which you should totally do the tour because but I wasn't sure if you had to book them separately or not, and you don't. You just have to book just the ferry ticket, and that's all you have to worry about. But just plan your arrival, or just plan your ferry arrival date and time, and everything else will be done on its own. Your ticket is obviously both ways, as I don't think anyone is looking to stay at Alcatraz for an extended period of time. But you don't need to worry about booking your return ticket. Just make sure you don't miss the last ferry back. They run about every half hour, and they'll have the times posted on a sign on the dock, and they will remind you well in advance before the last ferry is. So there are more times during the spring, summer, and the early fall, and then in early November they kind of decrease the time slots that are offered. So you can learn more about the time frames for each season on the website. So the day cruises, and again the time depends with the seasons, but the day tour is $45, the night tour is $56, and the special behind the scenes tour is $101, which sounds like it just gives you like a more intimate group tour in addition to the regular audio tour, as well as some access to off-limit areas. So we just did the regular day cruise for $45, and I think we were there for about 2 hours total, maybe a little more. The ferry ride is only about 15 minutes long, but there is a little snack bar where you can purchase drinks and other food, as there are no food options on the island. And lastly, parking. Guys, I'm so sorry, you just have to do your best here. There's no designated parking, and this is in a super touristy part of town, so it's just regular city street parking. There's lots of paid lots and garages, and I'm so sorry. I would love to be able to give you a great spot, but I honestly ended up overpaying at a garage. So if anyone has a great spot idea for Pier 33/Fisherman's Wharf, please leave it in the comments below. Tickets are available a few weeks in advance for this, but honestly, I just got my ticket like 2 days before I was going to go, and that was totally fine. There were still plenty of options. When you look online, it will tell you how many tickets are left available in that time slot. Alright, so now that we've handled the logistics, let's explore the island. So the ferry ride may be essential, but it's still really enjoyable, and you can get some great shots of the Rock, as Alcatraz is often referred to, and even the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Also, the day we went was beautiful and sunny, and we stood outside and we just loved the view over the water. So one of the first things that I noticed approaching Alcatraz was the graffiti that said Indian land, referring of course to Native Americans, but it was written Indian on the building. And that is from the attempt to occupy the land following the removal of all the prisoners and when the penitentiary shut down. So sadly in 1971 they were forcibly removed, but you can still visit an exhibit in Alcatraz to learn more about the history of the Native Americans and their involvement with Alcatraz. This exhibit is in one of the first buildings on the big hill as you make your way up to the top where the Cellhouse is located. So the hill to get up to the top is pretty steep, but for all of our friends who may benefit from getting some extra assistance, there is a tram available, but please note this is primarily just for people who need that extra assistance and is not necessarily offered for everyone. So if you don't see it running and you would like to use it, just find a park ranger to get some help with that. In addition to the Native American exhibit, there's honestly just really great views as you walk up the hill and you can look out over the water. And then once you get to the top, you can start touring the Cellhouse where the audio tour is given. So when you walk in, there will be a big sign to your right, and as you enter through the doorway on the left, you will come into the room where you pick up your device for the audio tour, and there are 10 languages available on the audio tour. So this room holds both the showers and where new inmates would turn in their belongings and be given a new prison uniform. So you'll notice that the showers have no stalls, it's just a long wall of showers. So apparently there used to be stalls, but the prisoners lost the privileges to have them, and the guards needed to be able to see everything that was going on. So the prisoners got to shower twice a week. One thing that we learned pretty quickly in the audio tour and was repeated to us a few times was that the prisoners only had 4 rights, and that was food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. Everything else that they had was a privilege and that needed to be earned, and it could be taken away. So after picking up your device, you'll head upstairs, and then once upstairs, you'll see a large sign that says Start Audio Tour Here, and then you press play on your device. So unlike some other audio tours I've been on where you walk and find points and like put your reader to it, this is a 45-minute continuous tour that you can pause that will direct you through and tell you where to walk. So I messed it up a few times. At the same area, oddly. But anyway, if you get off track like I did, you can always pause your tour and ask a ranger to help you find where you need to be. The audio tours have like chapters, if you will. So for each of the different areas, they'll be able to tell where you are and where you should be because it will say it on your reader. So the audio tour features voices from guards and prisoners at Alcatraz alike. It talks about daily life at Alcatraz and certain privileges and punishments that were given to the inmates. And it will also tell you a few sensational stories. So despite the odds, 36 men tried to escape, and most were caught or even died in their attempt, but there are 3 whose fate we don't know. Apparently, they had been finding secret areas to work for months on flotation devices and other supplies like paddles to escape. So on the morning that they were missing, the guard said that he went into the cell to get the prisoner out of bed because he didn't get up for morning roll call. And then when he went in to get him, his head popped off, and they realized that they were dummy heads made out of plaster, paint, and human hair. So the 3 men were never found. So of course it's possible that these men did survive and made it to shore, but there's a lack of evidence to prove this theory, and the case was officially closed by the FBI at the end of 1979. So who knows, maybe they're still out there. So when you're done with your audio tour, just make sure you return it because it's programmed to make a loud alarm if it's not returned. So the audio tour is really good. It gives you a lot of great information, and it's free, so I would definitely make sure that you don't skip this audio tour. So after we did the audio tour, we enjoyed walking around the rest of the island that was open to us. Sadly, during our visit in November of 2023, there was some construction happening, so hopefully you will get to see a little more than we did. And then the one thing that we really enjoyed was the gardens. So they even had like a really cute storybook feature while you were walking through the garden. It would have like little signs that we would read like a page of a story, and then you'd walk to the next one that had like the next page of the story. And the story that it told us was actually a true story. It was about a prisoner, Alcatraz, who was chosen to maintain the garden, and he actually loved working on the garden so much that it became one of like the main components in his rehabilitation. So it kept him out of trouble, kept his mind and his hands busy, and then he ended up being transferred to a less severe prison and then got out early for good behavior. So I really liked that they had that story there for families to read. However, I did notice this is a temporary display, so hopefully it will still be there when you go, and hopefully they switch it for a new one instead of just getting rid of it. But we also then popped into the administration building, and they had like a model of the island, and they had some other details of the guards and some stories of the guards, but there wasn't too much else in there. No other audio tour. The only audio tour is in the Cellhouse. So then on our way back down, we popped into that area where they had the Native American exhibit, and then right as we were wrapping up for the day, we saw that a ferry was about to leave, so we just hopped on and had a successful escape from Alcatraz. So just in the nick of time too. So have you guys been to Alcatraz before? What was your favorite part? I definitely liked the audio tour on the Cellhouse. I loved getting all that information about the people's stories who used to be there. So thanks so much for coming along with us. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Please remember to like and subscribe for more trips with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye!